I got all this meat with no fat in it, so it be hard to cook it on the grill sometimes. Should have brought the griddle out.
Any last words? I'm sorry, what was that?
Oh man, what did I do that for? Can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
All in.
3, 2, 1, go.
Let's go, boys. Episode 222, UFC 318, locks and breakdowns. If you're new here, smash subscribe. Meat Boy MMA, DIY locks since 2020. We don't miss a card. And shout out to our latest sub, Lucidity777. Appreciate you and all the OG meatheads grilling with the boys. But last week, Meat Boy, episode 221 delivered for us again. Steve's Nashville Hot Chicken. Easy light work was Steve Garcia. And we'll quickly recap last week's locks. If you're looking for this week's, head straight to the timestamps if you're in a hurry. But what'd you make of the Steve Garcia MEATLOCK? Third in a row for your boys. We were all over it. The fight was non-competitive, like we said. How good is Steve's Hot Chicken Garcia?
Yeah, Steve's hot lava chicken is no joke. Absolute meatlock, absolutely chilling on the grill with lava. This time, and yeah, he's so good. He's a sleeper. I feel like nobody talks about him, but he's definitely just been getting better and better. One of the best, and I can't wait to see how far he can go.
Every fight, right, just gets noticeably better, and it was the first time in his recent six-fight win streak where he didn't pick up a finish, right? Kudos to Calvin Kattar, always tough, very difficult to put out, but despite not getting a finish, he still was dominant in all areas, and what happened to Calvin Kattar? I mean, that just went off a cliff quickly, but nonetheless, it was a great week for us overall. In addition to the meatlock cashing, we both went 4-1. The only one we missed was Nate the Train, and it was arguably 1-1 heading into that third round. Nate the Train comes out full steam ahead, full YOLOs, and Uzi Vert absolutely slept him. So that was disappointed. But I did want to get your thoughts on the co-meet. It was Bonfim versus Stephen Thompson. Obviously, Wonder Boy is one of your favorites, but you still picked Bonfim. A lot of people online screaming robbery, though. They think that perhaps Wonder Boy did enough to win that fight and get the split decision himself, but ultimately Bonfim got it. So what'd you make of the co-meet? Did you think it was a robbery?
Yeah, I don't know if it was a robbery, but it wouldn't surprise me if it kind of was. But Wonder Boy looked great. I mean, for his age and stylistically versus the matchup, like that's why I kind of picked Bonfim. I was worried. I was like, oh my gosh, Bonfim literally is gonna lose this or might lose this. Because I thought Bonfim was gonna take him to the ground, get a submission first round, maybe second, but probably first mid round at the end of the round. But he just didn't. Stephen Wonderboy looked great, fought great, and Bonfim is definitely a little sus. If you can't take out Wonderboy with easy light work at 50 years old, I don't know if you're ready for the top 10.
Yeah, great points. I thought Wonder Boy looked good. Probably the best he's looked in years, to be honest with you, and perhaps was deserving of the nod. But like you said, you got the 26-year-old surging hype beast versus the 50-year-old OG. Ray Longo said something to the effect of, it makes more sense from a promotional aspect to, award the victory to the hype beast as opposed to the legend on his way out. And obviously that requires some conspiratorial thinking, but oftentimes we will sort of rationalize within our own breakdowns the back end and when rounds are close, where judges might go because of particular leanings from the strings being pulled in the back. But nonetheless, meat event we were all over. As we predicted, we said Derek Lewis gets it done in the first round. The plus 210 odds was absolutely juicy, so hopefully everyone was able to capitalize on that. But what'd you make of Derek Lewis? And Chael Sonnen earlier today said the most exciting fight, next title fight for Aspinall would be Derek Lewis. And I asked you that question, Meat Boy. I said, yo, if Derek Lewis gets an early knockout, cuts a sick promo, could he cut the line? And we already see Chael pumping that narrative today. So what'd you make of Derek Lewis? And is he next for the title shot against Aspinall?
That'd be wild if Derek Lewis is, but also that would be a great 1-2 sell because everybody loves to see Derek Lewis fight. And I mean, if he touches you, you go out. So it's a possibility, but most likely Aspinall absolutely ragdolls easy light work. But hey, give the guy an easy bone since he had to wait for the Jones thing and nothing came to fruition. So I think he deserves an easy win, but yet still dangerous.
Exactly, and it makes sense on both ends for sure. And to me, it's a more fun fight, Derek Lewis versus Aspinall than is Aspinall versus Cyril Gane. So we'll see what happens. Nonetheless, though, it was a pretty decent card in Nashville. It's a banger of a pay-per-view this weekend. It's the BMF title. It's the last fight for Dustin Poirier. You ready to swap us through to what will become our fourth straight meatlock?
Yep, let's get right to the meatlock.
Move us over, then you see the text. 12-3 is the Matrix. Kyler Phillips taking on the lock dog, Vinicius Oliveira, who is 22-3 on an absolute tear, undefeated in the UFC. And a lot of his fights, he's been a dog lock, but this time the lock dog is a slight favorite against Kyler Phillips, who has won 3 of 5. But I think most concerningly, if you're looking for a reason to fade the Matrix, that most recent fight against a 40-year-old Rob Font was not a good performance from Kyler Phillips. Kyler Phillips was like a minus 360 favorite. Absolutely fumbled the bag, unanimous beatdown L via Rob Font. So we like the lock dog in this one. We've been very impressed with his recent wins. Saeed got absolutely ragdolled a few months ago, and perhaps even more interesting was how he did the same thing to Ricky Simone, who at one point was an almost title challenger, beat Merab Dvalishvili. It got a little sketchy for a while, but Ricky Simone looks back, and the lock dog domination over him is aging very nicely. So we like the lock dog in this one for a fourth straight meatlock. How do you think gets this one done over the Matrix? And is he going to be the first guy in the UFC to finish Kyler Phillips?
Yeah, no, I think he will be the first guy to finish Kyler Phillips. I think these odds are just so juicy, and we'll never see these odds again. I mean, the Matrix, he's been looking good, but yeah, that Rob Font one it just kind of just showed that this kid he ain't the one. He ain't a top fiver, and if you can't beat Fabrant, then you're not ready for the big leagues. And I think the Matrix is now the sacrificial lamb for the new hype beast, and he's going to get sent to the Shadow Realm early and often.
Yeah, I feel that 100%. And it's a great point because, I mean, you lose to Rob Font maybe 3, 4 years ago. Okay, that's excusable. But it's like when you lose to Rob Font 6 months ago, and again, Rob Font, no disrespect, great fighter, great levels test in division. But you like to think that the UFC at least thought that Kyler Phillips was ready for that Rob Font level. And he clearly wasn't. And then you sort of zoom out a little bit and look at the recent wins. It's like Pedro Munoz, okay. Ione Barcelos, okay. But it's like, it's not the top echelon of the division. And if we're looking at this kid Lockdog, he might absolutely be there. And the kid's huge, right? We were talking earlier. He really makes all these bantamweights look much smaller than they are, and he's just a big, physically imposing dude who is well-rounded and can do it all. So I was especially captivated by the Tapology odds. 94% is rolling with the Lockdog, only 6%. Basically, his friends and family are going with Kyler Phillips, and I was most struck by those numbers given, like you said, the juicy odds, right? I mean, rarely do you see a minus 148 favorite getting 96% of Tapology. So clearly the community is all over the lock dog. He is, again, a minus 148 favorite. So we'll be keeping it simple, throwing down 148 to net 100. I could see this going the distance, though, Meat Boy. If you are picking Oliveira, lock dog, meat lock finish, is it a submission, TKO, and is it earlier off?
Yeah, honestly, I think Lockdog is gonna win by decision or KO in this one. Um, he's 2-2, two KOs, two decisions, and I mean the Matrix. He's never really been knocked down and knocked out like this. So I don't know. I think Lockdog could get it done. Um, maybe third round KO or decision.
Yeah, great stuff for sure. Whether he takes the red pill or the blue pill, I think he's simply going to be swallowing a knuckle sandwich nonetheless. But let's go lock dog, easy light work for this week's meat lock. Let us know in the comments if you are fading the meat lock, even though we're on an absolute tear and you are stuck in the matrix, or you are rolling with the lock dog meat lock. So, any last thoughts on the meat lock, meat boy?
No, just another dog lock.
Just another dog lock, lock dog, meat lock. Swap us through. Marvin Vittori, old blockhead, aka the Blocky, 19-8-1, is taking on Brendan Allen, aka All In, and this interesting fight because both these dudes are coming off two straight recent L streaks. Both these dudes were getting closer and closer to the top. Old Blocky even was right there, getting title fight opportunities, but since then, at least the past year or so, it's been discouraging for both guys. What do you make of this one? Are you at all surprised by the odds? Brendan Allen is a minus 265 favorite. Plus 200 is old Blocky. Are you surprised at all by those odds, or does it make sense? And perhaps you can empathize with Brendan Allen's recent losses more than you can with Blocky's recent losses.
Yeah, no, Brendan Allen recent losses are definitely way more justifiable than old Blocky. And old Blocky's just been on the shingles. It seems like he just, just seems not as motivated as normal. While Brendan Allen, I mean, he was looking better than ever until getting, beat by Imavov, which also beat Israel Adesanya, knocked him out. So no shame in that, to be honest. So I don't know. I think Brendan Allen has kind of got his number. The styles are very good, and I think he's got the better striking. He's a faster fighter, while Old Block, he's kind of just like a block.
Yeah, he truly is a block, and he has been shingled up, like you said. Like it just doesn't seem like Vittori ever since even you can, I guess, go back to the Adesanya fight. It just doesn't seem the second one. Just doesn't seem like he has the same aura, you might say. Doesn't have the same confidence that he maybe once had, and it's been rough recently. Like he's going out there and just losing every single round. He's on some basically Calvin Kattar style stuff right now, so it's pretty discouraging when you look at Brendan Allen and compare the two. Imavov, he lost 2-1 in his hometown of France, so it's like that was pretty close fight. And then Fluffy Hernandez is going out there and absolutely smoking everyone. Did the same to Brendan Allen as well. So I think it's a great rebound opportunity specifically for Allen and truthfully for Vittori too. But I think Vittori's done. I don't think Vittori's winning another UFC fight, and I see Brendan Allen finding a way to get a decision in this one. Old Blocky historically though is like impossible to finish, right? Like the truest of the true compliment from our end when we call him the blockhead. He's got a block dome and it can simply absorb multiple strikes. So is there any chance that Brendan Allen can finish Blocky, or is this just a unanimous L but a decisive one for Brendan Allen nonetheless?
Yeah, no, I think this is definitely a decisive one for Brendan Allen, all in. But man, it would not surprise me if he somehow gets a sneaky finish. I don't know if it's submission or KO, but it's probably gonna go decision.
Yeah, probably decision for sure. Peep the sneaky sub though. You never know. Brendan Allen is slick down there, but Old Blocky is as tough as they come for sure. But we'll both go Brendan Allen. Swap us through them, meat boy. It's another interesting one, and one that we flirted with MEATLOCK potential, but ultimately went with the lock dog. It's Dan Ige, 19-9, taking on Patricio Pitbull, 36-8, who made his UFC debut just a few months ago, and it did not go well. We MEATLOCKed Yair. We loved the juicy odds that we were getting there, and it was easy light work because we essentially rationalized even the best Bellator fighter, the Bellator GOAT, still isn't even as good as Yair Rodriguez, who is a fringe top 3, top 5 guy. So the question this one is, we know how good Dan Ige is, right? He's as tough as they come for 145. He will beat a lot of guys, the Feelys, the Landweers, even most recently a peaking Sean Woodson. But when you put him against the top dogs, right, the Lerone Murphys, the Diego Lopez's, the Movsar Evloevs, he comes up short. So I guess the question is, we knew Yair would be a million times better than Bellator's GOAT. Is Dan Ige even better than Bellator's GOAT? What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, this is a sick fight. Definitely a big one for Pitbull because the Bellator GOAT has to prove that he is potentially a GOAT. Maybe it was, you know, he's dusting off the old skill set, getting back in the ring, a little, starstruck, fear, whatever, and this he should show. But I think Danny Ige, he's the 50K guy, so I think he's gonna win. And honestly, I could see a finish in this one, a big upset finish where they might just think it's gonna be a lame decision, but I could see Ige snuffing him.
Yeah, and we've seen Pitbull get snuffed before, right? Chihiro Suzuki, the last fight in Super Risen. And again, that wasn't a catchweight, so it was against a bigger dude. But Pitbull got absolutely slept by him. And then he also got subbed by AJ McKee in 2021. And we know Dan Ige isn't a guy who is too much of a submission threat, but he does have 5 sneaky subs on his record, and perhaps that could be juicy if somehow the fight gets down there as well. But if you're taking Ige, how do you see him outperforming the Pitbull in this one? And do you think the odds make sense? Ige is minus 220, Pitbull's plus 185. Is that too much love for Dan Ige, or do the odds make sense too?
No, I think the odds make sense. I mean, definitely a lot of respect going to Ige, which no shame in that. But yeah, I think it makes sense.
Yeah, 21% is rolling with the Pitbull, so there is some support from Tapology. 79% though going with Dan 50K Ige, and I'm rolling Dan Ige in this one too. I think decision probably happens, and I'm hopeful that at least this fight is closer than Pitbull was for Yair. I mean, obviously we were rooting for Yair, so we were down for that destruction, but from a promotional aspect, I mean, that kind of sold Pitbull as a new contender in this division. There's a reason he got Yair Rodriguez as his debut, and he really fumbled the opportunity. You mentioned, the bright lights and how sometimes guys come out there and just fumble that first fight, but once they've sort of got that rust off them, maybe they can return and actualize all of the hype and success they had from Bellator. But for me, I just don't think Pitbull is that good. I think he's almost 40 years old, and I think Dan Ige is perpetually underrated and one of the toughest dudes in this division. Not a future champ, but a guy that's going to basically beat anyone from Bellator. So I'm going to go Dan Ige by decision. I do think this fight is a little bit more competitive, though, than the Pitbull versus Yair fight was. So are you kind of seeing the same way?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, let us know in the comments if we are just sleeping on Bellator or if we're spot on and Dan Ige is better than all those guys. But swap us through, me boy, because it's another fun one. It's a fight that, if you remember, we were originally supposed to get this fight years ago. You and I we were at your crib watching it. Kevin Holland was supposed to fight D-Rod. Ultimately, something goes down. What was it? Nate Diaz pulls out. Kevin Holland now fights Hamzat. D-Rod now fights the Leech. Everything got switched around, right? But essentially, Kevin Holland and D-Rod gets postponed, canceled even, and now they're running it back 3 fights from the top. And it's an interesting fight because both these dudes were on some L streaks, kind of hitting a hiccup, but now they've got 2 straight victories for both of them. Both of them got a finish most recently. Kevin Holland put out Santiago Ponzinibbio in the 3rd round, whereas Kevin Holland absolutely smoked Vicente Luque in 2 and got himself a performance of the night bonus. So what do you make of this rematch? Almost you can call it rebooking, I guess is a better way to put it. Are you taking Kevin Holland despite the fact that he is a very sizable favorite and sometimes can get a little sketchy when that's the case? Or are you taking the underdog D-Rod in this one who might capitalize?
Yeah, I got to go Kevin Holland in this one. Both these guys are battling of the bums, but Kevin Holland's got the age. I think he's just a better fighter in general. He's got more tools to get it done. And I think he's just got, the longer reach, the sniper. So I think Kevin Holland's going to win by finish, either a submission sneaky or a KO.
Yeah, I mean, I think back to that Neil Magny fight, right? Neil Magny got the sneaky sub over D-Rod, and we know Kevin Holland has those long sniping punches, those gnarly kicks. Like Kevin Holland, for, as much as he can be criticized, he is extremely well-rounded and can do everything everywhere in a pretty competent way for sure. And Kevin Holland could maybe sniping finish him similar to how Ian Gary did as well. But this one I think is pretty fun. Tapology is obviously overwhelmingly bullish on Kevin Holland, and majority is going for that copper sub, so they're with you. They think the Magny style sneaky sub could pay dividends for Kevin Holland. But this one, to me, Tapology 96%, D-Rod 4%, it makes way more sense given the odds, right? We have Kevin Holland as a huge favorite in this fight, minus 460, but plus 360 is D-Rod. So for me, Tapology reflects the odds. I'm going to go Kevin Holland as well. I like by finish. If you're taking Kevin Holland, are you predicting TKO or submission, and is it 1st, 2nd, or 3rd round?
I'm thinking 1st round KO, 3rd round submission if a finish happens.
Very nice. 1st round KO or 3rd round sub for Kevin Holland. So basically means he will win by 2nd round double KO or something crazy. But nonetheless, Kevin Holland by finish is the pick. I like him to get it done, and I'm going to go 1st round with you, meat boy. I think he's putting this guy out. And if you've been watching the Embeddeds this week, Kevin Holland just seems super dialed, right? His coaches are saying this is the best version we've ever had of him, and this guy is just extremely motivated and extremely active, right? I mean, nobody is more active than Kevin Holland. It's already his 4th fight happening in the calendar year, so Kevin Holland doing what he does, and it's always fun to see, right? Because I feel like when Kevin Holland is fighting well, the division is a little bit more fun of a place to be in. So let's go Holland by finish. Any last thoughts on this banger?
No, fun fight, great fight. Glad they rebooked it.
Yeah, I am too. Co-meet is very interesting. Roman Kopylov, sometimes he's the copy lock, is taken on Paulo Costa, the eraser. And this is a fun one. It's one that I'm excited to see Costa back in there because it's been over a year since we've seen him. I mean, we're still a couple days away from the event, so fingers crossed that Paulo remains on this card. Sometimes weird things happen with the eraser, but it's an interesting fight to me because Paulo Costa's lost 4 or 5 fights, right? He was at one point 13-0, all the rage, gets the title fight, gets absolutely smoked by Izzy, and since then it's been pretty rough, right? I mean, the only win he has was that amazing contest versus Luke Rockhold, where yes, he won the fight, he won every round, but Luke had his moments, and there were moments when Eraser was even fake rocked. I mean, it just hasn't looked great for him lately, and he's taken on a surging hype beast in this one in Roman Kopylov, who has basically gone in a different direction with his career. He's won 6 of 7. His only loss was to Fluffy Hernandez, and most recently he's absolutely slept Chris Curtis easy light work with a fight of the night finish in the final second of the match. So what do you make of this one? Kopylov is basically a minus 200 favorite. Costa, though, back against the wall. Is he coming to be racing?
Yeah, no, man, I think the eraser is definitely gonna bring the SpongeBob doodle pencil and fully erase Kopylov. He went from copy lock to copy bum because he's getting sent to BKFC. I just don't see how Kopylov gets this done, to be honest. While I see eraser off of one bottle of wine or no bottles of wine will win this fight pretty easy.
Very nice. So you're going with the dog. You're coming in on the eraser to return with the vengeance. What then do you make of the odds? Why do you think the odds makers are as bullish as they are on Kopylov? And to run with that, Kopylov is getting 80% from Tapology, 20% going with the eraser. So what's the rationale for why you're bullish on Costa, and how do you square the circle that is the odds and the Tapology Timmies?
Well, I mean, Paulo Costa has a proven record of never really being always locked in. I mean, he shows up on the day, but you never know if he's pulling out, he's going up 2 weight classes or what. So people are kind of hesitant on that. While Roman Kopylov is always a professional. He always makes weight, makes time, etc. But he's on a Kopylov is on a 2 fight win streak while Costa's on a 2 fight losing streak. And his most recent win is versus a bum dog Luke Rockhold, and then 2 more losses before that. But you look at those losses; those guys are in a different caliber. They're the top of the top, and Kopylov's best win is what, Punahili, Chris Curtis. Those are basically his 2 best wins. You go down Paulo Costa's wins. I mean, he beat Yoel Romero, Luke Rockhold, Uriah Hall, Johnny Hendricks. Sure, you could say they're all bum dogs in their old times, and you could probably say the same thing with this happening right now. But the thing is, Kopylov is actually basically the same age as Costa, so they're fighting basically both at peak time. It's just who's showing up that night. If Costa shows up, he's gonna demolish Roman Kopylov.
Yeah, good stuff. I am definitely more impressed with the resume, the wins that Costa was able to collect versus Kopylov, who, like you said, has his best win over Chris Curtis and future champ Puna Soriano. But nonetheless, this is an interesting one for me because initially I was kind of leaning Kopylov, right? He's been looking great, just got the nice finish. But watching him betted this week, I don't know. Eraser seems pretty dialed. He looks fast to me. So I'm with you, boy. Let's roll with Eraser in the co-meet. If you are picking him, is it going to be a close decision, or do you see a world where Eraser goes out and erases Kopylov? Because if he beats Kopylov, I mean, we've only seen Kopylov lose 3 times, right? And 2 of them were by submission. Costa, we know, has a BJJ game, but has never utilized it, so I don't see a submission happening. Could he be the first guy to knock out Roman Kopylov?
I think he could. I mean, if anyone hits like an absolute tank, it is the eraser. So I think the eraser is going to do some erasing this Saturday night.
Yeah, it's a close one for sure. I'm going to lean Costa. However, I'm going to go by decision. I can see a world where Costa just wins 2 rounds and is able to maintain distance, fight his fight versus Kopylov. But I think we'll learn a lot about Roman Kopylov and Costa too. Because if Costa goes out here and gets smoked by this 34-year-old hype beast, then Costa, in my opinion, might be in the same Marvin Vettori talks of will he ever win another fight again? And perhaps after this weekend, we're talking about matching those 2 up, and loser goes to box check Paul. But nonetheless, I'm taking Costa decision. You got Costa by finish?
Yeah, cost by finish, 100%.
Swap us through then. It's the trilogy. It's the finale. It's the BMF belt. Max Holloway is going in there to defend it against Dustin Poirier in his backyard. And it's a fun fight because you obviously, if you're watching a Meat Boy MMA breakdown, you know the context. It's the 3rd iteration between Holloway and Poirier. The very first installment was Max Holloway's debut. About a decade ago, Dustin gets the finish. Second time they fought was around 2019, 2020-ish, and a closer and more competitive fight for the interim 155 championship, but ultimately Dustin got the nod in that one, and that was a fight where Holloway stepped in on short notice, right? So one could argue that he wasn't fully acclimated to this 155 division, thusly giving Poirier the power advantage and ultimately the victory, the edge, you can say, but This one is a little bit different of a story, right? Holloway's been in 55 now for a little bit. He just finished Gaethje for the BMF belt at 155, and obviously the last time Gaethje fought Poirier, he slept him. So do you make anything of the context heading into this third installment, or do you think that this is just one of those instances where Poirier has Holloway's number and they can fight 10 times and perhaps Poirier wins 9 of them, and ultimately you like him to get the third victory in this trilogy bout? Are you going Dustin Poirier, or are you taking Bless Holloway?
You know, man, sometimes some of the fighters just have the other fighter's number, even though maybe the other fighter's better than the other fighter, but that other fighter has the number of the other fighter. That being said, I think Max Holloway, he's got the third time is a charm. He's got to lock in. He's going to get it done. He's now the new BMF belt holder, and I think he's going to keep the belt and stay the BMF.
Wait, hold up. So you're taking Dustin or Max?
Max.
Okay, so you're taking Max. You're saying he keeps the belt. What then goes into the perhaps he just has his number thing? Is that does Dustin no longer have Max's number? Like, help me rationalize how, if sometimes guys have numbers, you're taking the dude without the number.
Because like I said, the third time is a charm, and sometimes that number gets erased, and sometimes people get new numbers. So I think this is one of those moments because he's got a BMF belt. He doesn't have, the normal 145 belt. This is the new number, so then he doesn't have that old number. So Max Holloway wins by KO third round.
It would only make sense, and if you're here for Meat Boy May, you're obviously here for these earth-shattering takes. But nonetheless, Meat Boy, if you're taking Max Holloway, how do you think he gets this one done over Dustin Poirier? And did you say that he's going to go out there and do what Justin did to Dustin and finish him, or how do you see Holloway picking up a finish if he does in Dustin's farewell fight?
He's going to do what Justin did to Dustin and what Max did to Justin, KO in spectacular fashion. But I might throw a little doinker on the sneaky sub. You just never know when Max might pull one of those out.
And that would be pretty crazy, right? Because how it all started, Dustin submitting Max, how it could all end, Max submits Dustin. Sometimes the stories write themselves, so you can be on something there for sure, Meat Boy. But this one's fun for me. I've been going back and forth. If this fight remains on the feet, do you see Max figuring out that puzzle? Because the last 2 installments he hadn't. Do you see this fight being advantageous for him on the feet, or do you see a world where this fight hits the mat as well? Like, how does this fight play out?
If it hits the mat and somehow Dustin can control the top and just keep Max down, it's going to be easy light work for Dustin. But Max is a strong guy, a big guy. Max has somehow never been stuck on the ground. He's never been Khabib before. It's fascinating. So I don't think that'll happen. I think it'll stay on the feet, and I think it's going to be an absolute slobber knocker. Someone's pointing down to the ground, and I just cannot wait to see these iconic moments. Someone's getting knocked out. I gotta go with Max. He's, he did it to Gaethje. I think he's gonna do it to Dustin also.
Yeah, it's one of those fights too where it's like it's the perfect story. It could be the perfect end for Dustin Poirier to go out in his backyard where it all began and emerge with a victory over the fighter Max Holloway, who, yes, he has a lot of UFC tenure. He's like an OG vet at this point, but he reminded everyone in the Countdown episode earlier this week that he's still only 33 years old, and you would think maybe he's just past his prime, but you got to imagine he has at least 2 or 3 more years of very, very high level fighting, if not longer than that for sure, despite the accumulation of damage, which definitely is concerning. But last pitch, Meat Boy, you're taking Max Holloway. If you're going to go by a finish, are you really thinking it's going to be early?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be within the first 3 rounds.
Within the first 3 rounds, it's a finish for Max Holloway. I'm back and forth on this one, Meat Boy, but my gut is telling me that Dustin Poirier is going to find a way to get this one done. I sometimes will sell out for the story. I will shill for the narrative, and it's very possible that that's what I'm doing right now. And just wanting Dustin Poirier, who is just a great dude, an ambassador for the sport, to go out not only on his own terms, but on top on his own terms. So I'm going to buy the hype. I'm going to say Dustin gets this one done, and I think also that this is going to be the final BMF fight that we will ever see. And personally, I think that the UFC will be secretly rooting for Dustin this one. I know that might sound backwards, but it seems like they're reluctantly keeping this BMF train going. And while I think it's kind of interesting, I would love to see Max versus maybe Dan Hooker next. Keep the BMF belt alive. I think the UFC wants to shut it down, and I think this is the perfect fitting end to the BMF story. And Poirier beats Holloway, retires that belt, and we never see it again. Any last thoughts on that?
No, I think that's a good take, and I could totally see that happening. If especially if Dustin wins. But no, this is a great fight, fun fight card nonetheless. Smash me, subscribe.